I called off the wedding after my fiancée's drunk friend exposed her secret threesomes with the best man. Hey Reddit. I never imagined I'd be sitting here, reflecting on how a single moment could destroy the future I'd spent months planning. It all started with what seemed like a normal pre-wedding gathering, a night out with friends to celebrate the final stretch before our big day. Little did I know that this night would reveal a truth so ugly, it shattered everything I thought I knew about the woman I was about to marry. My fiancée, Emily, and I had been together for nearly 4 years. We had that kind of relationship that people envied, a perfect blend of love, trust, and compatibility. At least, that's what I thought. We were planning a destination wedding in a beautiful coastal town, with our closest friends and family there to witness our vows. Emily had always been the life of the party, the kind of person who could light up a room just by walking in, and I loved that about her. Her energy was infectious, and she always made sure everyone was having a good time. But there was one thing about Emily that I wasn't completely aware of, her best friend, Rachel. Rachel and I had always been cordial, but I didn't know her very well. Emily and Rachel had been best friends for years, and Rachel was going to be one of the bridesmaids. I never paid much attention to her behavior because she wasn't a part of our inner circle, and I didn't really care to get involved in their girl talk. The night before the wedding, Emily organized a small get-together with a few of our friends. It was supposed to be lighthearted, just a few drinks, some laughs, and a chance to unwind before the big day. I figured it was the perfect way to let off some steam. Emily, Rachel, and a few other bridesmaids were there, along with some of my closest friends, including Mark, the best man. Mark and I had been friends since high school. We'd been through a lot together, and I trusted him with my life. He was the kind of guy who always had your back, no questions asked. He was also a bit of a wild card, known for his party antics, but I figured he would tone it down for the wedding. Emily and Rachel had always joked about Mark's charm with women, but I never took it seriously. I trusted my fiancée. After all, she had always been the most honest and open person I knew. Or so I thought. The night started off innocently enough. We were all drinking, laughing, and talking about the wedding plans. The conversation was light, and everyone was enjoying themselves. But as the night went on, something shifted. Rachel, who had been quiet for most of the evening, began to drink more heavily. She was tipsy at first, but soon it was clear that she was completely wasted. Emily was sitting beside me, laughing with the other bridesmaids, but I could tell something was off with Rachel. It started when Rachel began talking loudly about something that seemed like a joke at first. But the more she rambled, the more I realized it wasn't a joke at all. She mentioned Mark in passing, and then she said something that made my blood run cold. "God, I can't believe how much fun we had in that hotel room," Rachel slurred, her voice growing louder. "I never thought Mark could get so into it, especially with you, Em." Everyone paused. I glanced at Emily, and her face immediately flushed. Her expression shifted from casual amusement to nervousness in a split second. My mind raced as I tried to piece together what Rachel had just said. "Mark? Hotel room? Emily? Rachel, what the hell are you talking about?" Emily snapped, trying to mask the panic in her voice. Rachel waved her hand dismissively, clearly not realizing the gravity of what she had just said. "Oh, come on, you two. The threesomes were hot. I mean, who would have thought Mark would be into that kind of thing, right? I didn't think he'd have it in him." The room went silent. My stomach turned. I didn't want to believe what I was hearing. It didn't make sense. I looked at Emily again, and this time I could see the guilt in her eyes. Her cheeks were burning red, and her hand was trembling as she reached for her drink. "Rachel, shut up," Emily hissed, her voice shaking. But it was too late. The damage was already done. The air in the room thickened, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. My thoughts were swirling. Threesomes? Hotel room? With Mark, my best friend? I couldn't process it. I turned to Mark, who was standing by the bar, frozen in place, his face pale. He looked like a deer caught in headlights, clearly not expecting Rachel to reveal this secret. "Is this true?" I asked, my voice trembling with anger. I was no longer the calm, collected groom-to-be. The mask had slipped, and I was furious. How could Emily, how could they both, keep something like this from me? Mark opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. He seemed at a loss for words. Emily, on the other hand, finally found her voice. She stood up, her eyes welling up with tears, but she didn't come to me. Instead, she walked over to Rachel, her hands shaking as she tried to pull her aside. "Rachel, you need to stop. Right now," Emily said, her voice pleading. But it was too late. Everyone had heard. The truth was out, and there was no going back. I didn't know what to do. My whole world had just collapsed in an instant. I loved Emily. I had been ready to marry her, to spend the rest of my life with her. But how could I trust her now? How could I trust anyone in that room? My best friend, the woman I was supposed to marry, and her best friend had just exposed a secret I never saw coming. A secret that shattered everything I thought I knew about our relationship. I stood up abruptly, feeling like the room was closing in on me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I knew was that I needed to get out. I needed space, distance, to process what had just happened. "Stay away from me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I turned and left the room, my mind racing with 100 thoughts and 1,000 emotions. As I stood outside in the cool night air, my phone buzzed with notifications, but I didn't care. I couldn't process anything else. The person I loved, the person I thought I knew better than anyone, had just shattered my trust. I was numb. And I still didn't know what I was going to do. Update. I sat outside for what felt like hours, trying to make sense of everything that had happened. My hands were shaking, my mind was spinning in a whirlwind of disbelief and anger. I didn't even know where to go from here. The wedding was supposed to happen the next day. I should have been excited, nervous, maybe even a little stressed about the details, but instead, I felt a deep pit in my stomach that wouldn't go away. The worst part? The person I thought I knew better than anyone, the woman I was about to marry, had betrayed me in a way I never expected. It wasn't just the fact that Emily had been involved in threesomes with Mark. No, it was the fact that she had kept it from me. For years. I thought we had something special, something real. But how could I trust someone who kept such a huge part of themselves hidden from me? How could I trust Mark, my best friend, who had been right there, in the thick of it? I tried calling Emily's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. No surprise there. After what Rachel had exposed, I knew she probably wouldn't want to face me. I couldn't blame her. I wasn't sure I wanted to face her either. My whole world felt like it was crumbling around me, and I couldn't stop the flood of emotions threatening to drown me. At that point, I knew one thing for sure: I couldn't go through with the wedding. Not with everything that had just come to light. The truth was out, and as much as I wanted to believe in the fairy tale version of our relationship, I couldn't ignore the fact that the foundation had cracked beyond repair. I grabbed my phone and sent a simple message to Emily: "We need to talk. I can't do this." It was cold, and it felt wrong, but it was the only thing I could bring myself to say. I wasn't sure if she would even respond, but I needed to make it clear that this wasn't just a small bump in the road. This was a betrayal that couldn't be overlooked. About 15 minutes later, I received a text back. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. Please, let's talk. I can explain everything." Explain everything? How could she explain something like this? There was no way to sugarcoat it. She slept with my best friend. Multiple times. And now I was supposed to just hear her out? I wasn't sure if I could even look her in the eye again. But I knew I needed closure. I couldn't move forward with the wedding, with our life together, without understanding why it happened. Maybe, just maybe, if I understood her side, I could find a way to forgive her. But I wasn't sure I'd be able to trust her again, no matter what. I agreed to meet her in the hotel lobby where we were staying. I didn't want to do this over text or phone call. I needed to see her, to hear her voice, to figure out what she would say in person. When I walked into the lobby, I spotted Emily immediately. She was sitting by the bar, her face pale and her eyes red from crying. She looked like a ghost, and for the first time since I met her, I didn't recognize her. I almost didn't want to approach her, but I couldn't back out now. Not after everything. I sat down across from her, my eyes not quite meeting hers. The silence between us felt suffocating. Finally, she spoke. "I never meant for you to find out this way. I thought I could keep it from you. I thought I could control it," Emily said, her voice shaky and full of regret. "But it wasn't like that. It wasn't about you not being enough. I don't know. It got out of hand. And when it happened the first time, I didn't know how to stop it." I stared at her, my heart pounding. "So, this wasn't just a one-time thing? You've been sleeping with Mark? Behind my back?" Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes. It happened several times. And it wasn't just about sex, it was emotional, too. I don't know how to explain it, but there was something between me and Mark, something that felt so different. And I didn't know how to tell you, because I was afraid of losing you. I felt sick. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mark, my best friend, the person I trusted with everything, had been involved with my fiancée in a way that I couldn't even begin to process. My mind kept flashing back to all the moments I had shared with them, the inside jokes, the trust, the laughter. It was all a lie. "I don't know how you can expect me to just forgive this, Emily," I said, my voice breaking. You didn't just betray me, you betrayed everything we built. And Mark. He was supposed to be my friend. How could you both do this to me? I never meant to hurt you, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I was selfish. I never wanted to lose you, but I couldn't stop what was happening. It was a mistake. A huge mistake. But please, don't end everything because of it. I love you. I still love you. I shook my head, the weight of her words crushing me. I don't know if I can trust you anymore, Emily. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. It wasn't that I didn't still have feelings for her, I did. But the pain was too much, and the betrayal ran too deep. I have to go, I said, standing up. I can't marry you. Not after this. Not after everything that's happened. Emily's face crumpled as she realized what I was saying. Please, don't do this. Please don't call it off. We can work through this, I swear. But I was already walking away. The finality of the words hung in the air, and as much as I wanted to believe that we could fix it, I knew deep down that I couldn't move forward. The wedding was called off. The guests were told the truth, though not the full details, and I canceled everything. I walked away from Emily, from Mark, from the future I had envisioned for us. As I sit here now, reflecting on that night, I know I made the right decision. But the pain hasn't gone away. I'm still processing the betrayal, still questioning everything I thought I knew. I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing for sure, I'm better off without the lies.